does that even mean, Bowers Game Corner?
Ahoy there, YouTube! I'm back again today for another game review, and today I'm very excited to check out Heroes Welcome, Merchants of Dragonreach from Pencil First Games, LLC. This is for 2 to 5 players, take about 90 minutes to play, and it's for ages 14 plus, and in Heroes Welcome, you're going to be playing as pretty much a weapons dealer. You're going to be crafting weapons to give to these big bad monsters. So these big bad monsters are going to go into the caves to fight the heroes, and then the heroes, of course, are going to crush the monsters. They're going to collect the stuff off the dead bodies of the monsters, take that stuff back into town, and you'll buy it off them, and once again, craft more weapons for more monsters who are inevitably going to get crushed. This is a worker placement-esque game with a twist, as there's going to be lots of different actions you can take. There's a really cool end round system in this game. There's a lot of stuff going on in this game, and I do want to forewarn you, the middle part of this video is lengthier than I'd like it to be because there's a lot to talk about. So let's open it up, and I'll tell you what I think. Alrighty then, we're going to take a look at what you're going to get inside of Heroes Welcome. So first and foremost, we have our handy-dandy rule booklet. It is 16 pages, double-sided, full color, full of pictures, illustrations, examples. It tells you exactly how all the different shops work and how all the different guilds work, and I want to tell you it's a great rule booklet, but I cannot do that. And the biggest problem, why? This is your setup, and your setup is very comprehensive, and it tells you exactly what to do, and it's fantastic, but then you'll notice that, what? It's on page 6! The first 5 pages filled with stuff that should be later on in the rule booklet. And I swear, game companies, stop doing this. Stop trying to shove information down our throat before we set up the game. Now, at least they tried by having a game set up here and then showing you all this stuff, but come on, do you want to read all this stuff before you have anything set up on the board? No, you don't. Stop it, game companies. Stop it. Bad. Bad. Yes, and so the rules are more complicated than they really need to be, despite the fact the rules have all the information. Everything you need is in here. I don't think we had any questions that were unanswered, which would imply that it's a good rule booklet, but the beginning and learning the game the first time is going to be more complex than you want it to be, and I feel like if they would have laid the rule booklet out in a better way, it would have helped that process exponentially. So, in Heroes Welcome, what are you going to be doing? Well, you're going to be playing as one of these fellas right here, or one of these ladies right here. You're going to be playing as pretty much a blacksmith, and you are going to be building different trinkets and giving those trinkets to these bad guys over here. That will earn you victory points, and that will earn you coins. And then these bad guys are going to go fight these heroes right there, which also have their own boards up here. As you can see, there is a lot going on in this game, and it is a little bit of a table hog in that aspect. And then the heroes are going to kill the bad guys. They will level up. They will have a whole bunch of loot, and then they're going to come back into town. You're going to try and get their loot from them, so then you can once again build stuff for the bad guys, and the heroes will build the bad guys. So essentially, you are an arms dealer, and you're playing both sides of the fence, so to speak. How you're going to score points in the game primarily is by building these, though. But also on the back of your card, it's going to tell you that at the end of the game, you can build one more trinket, which will give you a minor amount of points. And you can also convert gold into victory points. It's not the best way to do it, though. So, lot to go over. Let's go over the components, then we'll get into the gameplay. And I do want to say I'm probably going to miss a couple things here or there because, as you can see, lots of stuff going on. But this, for the most part, is going to be a very familiar game to worker placement fans. So let's talk about the board first. Let's talk about the 4 different actions you can do. So everyone's going to get one of these handy-dandy little player aid cards. Oddly enough, I think there's 7 or 8 of them included, and they are big. On the back, it's going to have all the different iconography, which is spectacular because there is lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of iconography in here, and luckily everyone has one of these, and it really does help you out a lot. But let's talk about the 4 different actions you can take, because there's going to be 2 main phases. The first phase is where you're going to take actions, and the second phase is kind of like a cleanup phase. It's where these guys go and they beat all the bad guys, and they kill them and they bring you back loot. So, first thing you can do is you can run a shop, which means you are going to move the heroes 1 space around this village right here, in the space that you land on. You can then take the action. And the actions, there's a whole bunch of different actions. There's a whole bunch of different buildings over here, which you'll also be able to build, but we'll talk about that later. But the actions generally are going to equal you spending either money or spending resources, like metal or gems, in order to get money or gems, or maybe to level up the heroes so they will be able to get more gems and more metal and more stuff like that. So for instance, this spot right here, you pay 1 coin to any hero you would like, and then you will be able to take one thing out of their backpack. And these are going to be their backpacks right here. They'll have their coins here. On this area right here, they'll have all their different things that they've acquired while fighting bad guys right there. And they're also going to be able to level up. So you're going to be putting tokens right here, and they will be leveling up. And once they level up, they're going to be able to come back into town with more goodies, and then you'll be able to get those goodies so you can, take them, build different things for the bad guys, and score victory points. So it's pretty much a cycle. You're going to arm the bad guys are going to die, and then you're going to take the stuff off the heroes and do it over and over and over again. So running a shop is going to have you moving one space, taking the action on the shop, and then closing the space down so no one will be able to use it, unless, of course, they have some sort of special scam card, which will allow them to do it. So that's the run a shop. Move around, take an action. I'm not going to go into all the different actions, but most of them involve you collecting either money or you collecting gems or metal. The next thing you can do is you can craft for a customer. So we're going to take a look over here at the customers, and the customers will look something like this. For instance, this is customer number 1. If you are able to craft this, you will get 3 victory points and you will get 4 coins immediately. So what does he need? He needs any gem and any metal. How do I know that? Well, luckily, we have the handy dandy player aid card, which will tell you very clearly any shard, any metal. So if you do that, you turn those into a special bag, and there's 2 special bags. I'm not really going to go over them. There's a scrap heap bag, and then there's the green bag. You collect the stuff, and then this card is going to stay in front of you, but you're going to take one of these tokens right here, and you're going to place it right here. Now, these tokens are how the heroes level up, because the heroes are obviously going to beat this demon imp, but you're never sure which of the heroes is going to beat him. So in this case, the green one will eventually beat him, but we'll just leave that there for now. So that's the next action that you can take, is that you can please one of the customers by building them something. Collect the reward from the bag, take the customer card, and add a well-armed enemy to the dungeon, which is that. The next thing you can do is you can visit a guild. And these are all of the spaces around the outside of the board. So let's take a look at the spaces around the outside of the board, and I'll go over what each one does, because I think there's only like 6 of them. So first, up top, this one is going to allow you to get money, gain $2 from the bank. Pretty simple. You go there, you say, you don't actually go there. You say, I'm just using the Goldsmith Guild action. You take your money, you close it down. You can also pay 1 victory point to gain $5 from the bank. Now, in most games, this is not a very good option, but in this game, I actually like it because 1 victory point at the end of the game is 5 coins, and 5 coins is 1 victory point. So it's actually an even trade, which is nice. So the game is not trying to make you broke. The next, we have the Builders Guild. You're going to build one of these 3 shops right here and place it out there. So essentially, there's going to be extra action spaces you'll be able to do. And then you take another turn. So this is like, essentially, you're putting something out, and then you still can take a turn by either moving this guy or crafting something or using a guild. So let's take a look at one of these. So this guy is going to allow you to pay 1 coin to the red hero. And they color coded. There's red, purple, and green. So you're going to pay 1 coin, and you physically will put that into their backpack. You're actually giving that person money. And then you can take something out of the dungeon bag, which is the brown bag over here. Bloop. You can do this one up to 3 times. Now, the other thing that I want to note is where you can build these things, because they will show you the locations you build it. So this can be built either on a field, there's fields all around, or it can be built on top of something called Old Town, which is another tile that might be out here. So this is kind of like an upgrade, and as you progress through the game, tiles will get upgraded, and they'll just become better and better and better, which is a nice way for it to naturally happen throughout the game. So next, we have the black market down here, and there's 2 different areas you can do for the Thieves Guild, aka the black market down here. The first one, you can pay 2 coins, and you can take one of these things right here and just place it in front of you. And the resources in the game pretty much boil down to this: red gems, green gems, and then these 3 symbols. I'm not even going to go into the flavor text and all that stuff, the Orc, Steel, Mithril, Ethereum, whatever. It's just those 3 resources. I do wish they would have color-coded that. They tried to go heavy on the theme, especially in the rules, by calling things Vorpal instead of victory points and stuff like that, which is annoying, but I know some people eat that up, so that's neither here nor there. The next spot that you can go to is you can get 2 of these for $6 from the black market. Next we have the Artisans Guild, which are going to be introducing these cards, which I haven't even talked about. And you're actually going to start with one of these cards. And I do like how they did this right here. I think this is really ingenious. So this is your character right here, which I haven't talked about too much. It's going to tell you what you're going to get, a starting doodad, depending on where you are. If you're the first player or the fifth player, you'll get a certain number of coins. You're going to get scam cards, which we haven't talked about, but which are really awesome. And then you're also going to get what's called a green shard mastery. So that means you are going to get the card that says green shard mastery. So what does that mean? That means if you make things for the bad guys, aka these guys right here, and you happen to use 3 green shards, you're going to get 3 extra victory points because you're all going to start on rank 1. Now, if you're able to build something with 4 green shards, you'll be able to get 5 victory points. But in order to do that, you're going to have to move your little ticker down by unlocking it. Oh yeah, that does not want to stay on there. We haven't had that issue before. Oh, there it goes. And you can do that by going to the Artisans Guild. So the Artisans Guild is going to let you either gain an additional mastery card, so you can have more than one, or upgrade, and you just slide it down. And they go all the way up to, so for this one, if you use 5 green shards, you're going to be able to get 8 additional victory points, which is a great chunk of victory points in this game. I think most of our games ended around, I think it was like 25 to 40 points was the general range I think we hit. So that's what you're going to be able to do here, and you can have a whole bunch of these. I wouldn't recommend getting a whole bunch of them, but you could get a whole bunch of them. So that's what the Artisans Guild is going to allow you to do. Next, we have the Merchants Guild right here, which is going to allow you to draw 2 scam cards. And the scam cards are one of the coolest aspects of the game, but also one of the things that I find kind of disappointing about the game. There are going to be a whole bunch of cards that will do different stuff. So this one, this turn you may ignore closed signs when you take the Visit a Guild action. The Big Juju expands the places of any 2 built shops. Late shift. This turn you may ignore closed signs when you take the run a shop action. Knucklebones. Swap 1, and look at that text. Come on, look at that text. It's so small. That's another thing. There's text that's a little bit too small. Yeah, the text is definitely too small in my personal opinion. But these scam cards will do really cool, interesting things. And I wish there was more of them. And I also wish that they felt... Some of them feel really good early on in the game. Some of them feel really good later on in the game, and not so much. But I'll talk more about that in the pros and cons. All you need to know is if you want to go here, you draw 2 merch scam cards, and they're awesome cards that will let you do cool stuff. The last guild we have is the Minstrel Guild right down here, where you have to discard one of anything. So you're going to get rid of one of your tokens and just put it back into the scrap heap bag. But then you move the heroes to any open shop and you immediately run it. So normally you would have to go 1 space, 1 space, 1 space. But with this, you just go bam all the way over here. You run the shop, put the closed on it. And those are what all the different guilds are going to do. The last action you can take, and one of the coolest things in this game, in my personal opinion, is you can call for round N. And what that means is you just say, hey, the round is over. But other people can veto that. So starting with the player to your left, they either going to say, pass, fine, the round's over, or they will veto it, and they will give you something from their supplies. They're actually going to give you a resource, which is great, and then it becomes their turn, which is the most interesting part. So let's say, I say I'm going to end the round. This guy says no. This guy says no. And then this person over here is like, yeah, I want the round to keep going. And they'll give you something. But then it becomes their turn, which means these other 2 people right here and right here, they've gotten skipped. It's a really interesting mechanism in this game. But I will say the one thing is you can veto once, and someone can end the round once and you can veto it, but if they try to end the round a second time, then the round is just over, and that round is actually over, which is a nice segue to talking about what happens next. So what's going to happen next is you go on this track right here, the Dungeon Crawl track, which I'll try and get up to. I don't know if I can because the text, once again, kind of small. Maybe we can even zoom. I never zoom. Oh my gosh, I just zoomed. That's some next level stuff right there. So let's talk about it. So the first thing you're going to do is that you are going to return 2 black market tokens. So the person who ended the round, whoever was like, all right, I'm ending this, is going to return 2 of these black market tokens down here. It's not really that big of a deal, but if they end up going to the black market, there'll be 2 less things that they do not want, or maybe they'll just want to jam somebody who clearly is trying to get them. Then the heroes are going to kill all the enemies. So these are the enemies right here. And then they're going to collect 1 loot per hero level. So they kill the enemies. The green guy is going to level up. Zoom out now. So he's going to level up. Boom. So now he's a level 2. And then you're going to collect loot per hero level. So everybody's automatically level 1. So they would get 1, and then this guy would get 2 things in his backpack. Then you're going to open the shops and guilds, which just means you're going to take all the closed off and put them back to the side. You are going to if 3 or more customers, aka the monsters down here, then you're going to put 3 additional ones out there. You're going to expand the town, which means the last person who is the first player, aka the master merchant, is going to randomly take the top tile over here, and they're going to put it wherever they would like to if they're able to. So I'll just put it right there, which also means that now this is gone because the forests have a special rule that says impassable, remove when a shop is built in an adjacent field. So put it right there. Then you're going to pass the master merchant, so the next person will become the first player, and you return to town where you're going to take actions. So that's it. That's really the whole game. It looks just insanely complex. I know it does. And the rules actually, when you're first learning them, especially those first stupid 6 pages, make it feel like it's complex, but it's not. You move this guy around, take actions on your turn. Or you craft trinkets on your turn. Or you take guild actions on your turn. Or you end the round. That's all you do. You have 1 of 4 actions you can take. And that's it. You're going to continue to do this until someone has built this big, bad dude right here, which costs a whole bunch of stuff, and it's going to get you 10 victory points right there, at which point that will be the last round you are going to play. You go through the phases, you do the song and dance. At the very end of the game, you're going to have one last chance to build trinkets for minor points. Well, potentially minor points. So this is like, you have 1 thing left, you get 2 points. Yeah, you have 3 things left, you can get 3 points. But don't forget that if you have some of these cards leveled up, that, this might not be 4 points. If it's 5 green gems that you have left, then you would get 12 points there. So that could be a potentially big swing right there. You convert the gold, and whoever has the most victory points will be the winner of Heroes Welcome, Merchants of Dragonreach. And that, in a nutshell, is how the game is played. Alrighty then, Heroes Welcome, Merchants of Dragonsreach from Pencil First Games LLC. What are my final thoughts? Let's go over the pros, let's go over the cons. First, on the con side, it's the biggest con that I have with this game is your first game is going to be a little bit rough at the beginning because the rules are not as good as you would like them to be. And it's not because they're incomplete, it's not because you can't find things, it's not because it's a lack of player aids or iconography is confusing or anything like that. It's just the layout of the rule booklet leaves a lot to be desired. In particular, the first, 5 pages are just telling you about the different actions you can take and the different resources and this and the vorpals and the theme and stuff like that. And then on page 6, it gets to the setup. And God, I hate when companies do this. Just give me the setup. Let me physically hold the pieces in my hand so I can say, oh, this is Vorpal. This is just a victory point. It just drives me nuts that game companies still do this. And other than that, it's a polished rule booklet. I didn't see any grammatical errors. It has all the information I need. It has a nice section in the back that tells you exactly how each of the buildings and each of the guilds work, and it should be a great rule booklet, but it's not. Now, that being said, once you know how to play the game, it's not going to be an issue, because the game is actually a relatively easy game to play, because it's a very straightforward and simple game. But when you read the rules, it will not feel that way, which is unfortunate. Another con that I have with this game is that it comes with its own expansion, which is actually a pro, but I would just recommend putting that expansion in as is. So I played the first time without the expansion, and I will never, ever, ever not play with it, because what it adds are what are called kickbacks, and the kickbacks are spectacular. They make all the different customers different and unique and have different bonuses, and I really did like it, and I would recommend, honestly, playing with that. Maybe not your first time, but the second time for sure. Definitely play with that. So yes, I do think that the expansion, which does come with the game, luckily, is something you're absolutely going to need. And I didn't think I needed it until I played with it, and then I was like, oh yeah, I need it. Continuing on with the cons, the text, the components are great. I definitely like the components. The box insert's well done. I like the artwork, but the text and some of the iconography on the cards are a little bit small. And if you watch the middle part, I had to be moving the camera around because this is a table hog, which is another con. If you have a small table, good luck with this one because it does take up a rather large space, but when you're trying to look at stuff, it's kind of hard and you're going to have to squint a little bit, especially with some of the text, and especially if you're playing 5 players and you can't all just be right next to the board. That's a minor nitpick, but it is something that I did want to mention. Somebody wanted to mention it. They mentioned it on the gameplay that the game felt like it could have been a little bit less fidgety. I really didn't honestly feel that. I felt like the game flowed pretty well and pretty smoothly, but I did want to mention that somebody else thought that. Any other cons that I have with the game? Oh, duh. I wanted a little bit more variety. So with the scam cards in particular, I wish there was just more scam cards, because the scam cards are awesome, and I like getting the scam cards. It's always exciting when you get scam cards, but I wish there was just more of them, more different kinds, because there's a lot of repeats and duplicates that do the same things, and I wish it would have been a kind of game where, like, maybe all of them were unique. Now, I know that's very difficult, especially balancing-wise and coming up with the cards-wise, so it's not exactly feasible in every instance, but with a game like this, I think it could have definitely been something they could have done. And in the future, I hope this game gets enough traction, enough popularity that they do include another expansion, which just has a whole bunch of scam cards that do all sorts of neat and crazy cool stuff. Because the ones they have now are neat and crazy and they do cool stuff, but I just wanted more of those. Likewise with the customers as well. I wish the customers were a little bit more interesting. They had their own personality, their own flavor. They did different things, which luckily they do in the Kickbacks expansion, but I'll do a separate review of the Kickbacks expansion, which needless to say takes us from being what I think is a good to very good game to being potentially a great game. But luckily that comes in the box, so you don't really have to worry about it. Any other cons that I have with the game? That's another thing. Just going back to the variety, I wish there was a bigger variety of shops and what the different shops do. I mean, there's a decent variety now, but I wish there was more. I wish there was different ways you could interact with heroes. I wish there was different things the monsters could do, because, I don't know. Just, I wish there was a little bit more variety in the game. That's what I got. Sounds like I don't like the game, but moving on to the pros, I think this is a very good game. I really enjoy Heroes Welcome. Now, the last con I do want to mention is that I think that especially with this rule booklet being a little bit of a burden and a little bit of a bear when you're first learning it, this is the kind of game you're going to want to be able to get to the table once every few months. So you're going to have at least a somewhat of a recollection of the rules. And that's another thing that I wish the rule booklet did have, like a quick setup or a quick reference or something like that a lot of rule booklets do now. But that's more of an minor nitpick. Moving on to the pros, I really enjoyed Heroes Welcome. I thought it was a very good game, and everybody I played it with thought it was good to great. And that's what I want to start with here. Everybody I played this with thought it was good to great, which is important, because that's, I think, 7 different people thought that. So that's big, and I agree with them as well. I like the artwork. I like the components, aside from the small text and the small iconography. I like the big player aid cards. I think that was really useful. I like the starting cards again. All the cards in this game, the big cards, I'm very happy with. I like the fact that it has on the card what you start with, and that's great. More games need to do that. I love the fact that the expansion is included in the box. I don't know if that's a Kickstarter sort of thing, but it's definitely something you're going to want to get. And I just like how this game feels slightly different, because it is a worker placement game at its core, but it has different moving parts and different moving pieces, and all the actions, for the most part, I like. Obviously, building things for people is the least exciting action, because it's just, oh, I'm turning the stuff in and getting victory points. But everything else I like. I like being able to move the heroes, and I like how where the heroes are on the board becomes an interesting aspect of the game, because the heroes are maybe on the right side of the board, you're like, yeah, I got a really good move, and the heroes on the left side, you're like, ah, crap, I don't have a good move. And then maybe you'll look at the guilds, and I like how everything gets shut down as you use it, which is really cool. But there's ways around that, but you have to get those scam cards. That's another con that I have with the scam cards I do want to mention, is that I feel like some of them are really good early game, and some of them are really good late game, and some of them are like, oh, well, I'm not going to use this card at all because it's completely useless to me now. So maybe being able to trade in scam cards on a location to do something. See, that's what I'm talking about right there. Give me a tile where you trade in a scam card and you get something. That would be really cool. So hopefully in the future they'll do that. Continuing on to the pros, I like the guilds. I like all the different guild actions. I really like the mastery. I thought the mastery was a really cool aspect of the game. And it's like, do I want to get numerous different masteries, so I'm scoring points on a routine basis, or do I want to really level up a mastery and then try and focus on being able to craft specific materials? That being said, the game, 90 minutes, and once you know what you're doing, I do think that is a very reasonable thing. I don't think it's a very smart idea to get more than 2 of those. And I don't think there's too many scenarios where getting more than 2 of those is going to be a good idea. I wish that was more of a viable strategy, but that's neither here nor there. So I like the actions. But my favorite aspect of the game, without a doubt, I love the scam cards. I love moving around. I love how there's set things where it's just like, you don't have to move the guy. It's just like, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, whatever I want, as long as it's not closed. But then I also can get lucky by moving the guy around. I like this part. I like how the hero's backpack is like this interchangeable thing where you're going to be putting coins in, taking stuff out, putting potions in there. I didn't even talk about the potions in the middle part because there's so much stuff to talk about. But the potions like give them like a temporary level up, and what you want them to be temporarily leveled up. A, because they're paying you money from their backpack for the potions, but B, because if they're bigger and stronger, then they're going to be bringing back more loot, which then you can use to please your customers. That's it. I already mentioned that. The expansion adds a couple of extra customers, which I like as well, but we're not talking about the expansion, so let's keep focusing on. But my favorite aspect of the game, without a doubt, is the veto system and the end the round system, because that is such a cool thing. So essentially how it works is, you look around the board and you're like, none of these actions are particularly great for me. Then you say, well, you know what? Round's over. I don't care if you want to do stuff out. The round's over. But everyone else has the opportunity to veto that. So starting with the player to your left, one by one, they can veto that and they can keep the round going. But in order to do so, they have to give you a resource, which is very good. And the other really cool thing about this is the people that passed and said, no, I'm not going to veto this. No, I'm not going to veto this. They get their turns skipped, which means you are like, I might get another turn, and by the time it gets back to me, maybe I'll actually have something that I want to do. I like that. Also, if you're the person that ends the round, then you also get a scam card, which I like. You get a mess with the black market, which it's neither here nor there. But in the end, Heroes Welcome. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good to a very good game, and I definitely think this is one that most people, especially if you like worker placement, are going to want to try. As for buying it, I think with the built-in expansion, I can definitely give this one a recommendation. That being said, I will do a full review of the expansion, what it includes, and why I like it so much in a separate video in the future. But as is, I think this is a good to very good game with the foundation to be like an absolutely spectacular game. Like, I think if this could add just, more scam cards, more variety on the different customers, aka the kickback cards, which are already there, maybe more buildings that do some different things. This game could potentially get catapulted even higher because it does have great artwork. And if you can get past that rule booklet, I think it's a very good game that I can recommend you check out. So that is Heroes Welcome, Merchants of Dragonreach, a game which tore me a little bit this way, a little bit that way, but in the end, I thought it was a really, really solid game that I can recommend you check out. If you enjoyed this review, this very long-winded review, please be sure to click on that subscribe button down below. If you want to support the channel, click on that little Amazon Associates link down there and buy anything on Amazon. Throws a couple pennies my way. It really does help support the channel. And in the comments below, let me know. Am I an old man shouting at the clouds, or am I right? Put the setup first. Maybe put components first and then setup. But components, setup, nothing else. I don't want anything. You want to put like a little paragraph of flavor text? Fine, but I don't even want it there. I just want the components and the setup. Am I wrong? Am I right? What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, thanks for your time, YouTube.